time is 6 p.m. I'll call to order this regular county council meeting, January 16th, 2024. Let's begin with a moment of silence. Mr. David Root, would you lead us in prayer?
Yes, sir. Pray with me if you'd like to. Dearest Father, creator of the universe and of this earth and of us and the sustainer of it all, just praise your name and thank you for the wonderful gifts and opportunities that you give us, one of which is tonight to do business for this county. I pray that we do it well, that you give counsel insight, guidance, wisdom that can only come from you. That you would create soft hearts, agile minds, and that we would do the will of the citizens and in keeping with what is good and honorable. Pray in your name. Amen.
Mr. David Dow, would you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I have approval of January 2nd, 2024 regular meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
Motion, have a second. Any discussion or changes? All in favor? Aye.
4-0.
All right, we have county attorney comments. Mr. David Root.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just two matters in the nature of housekeeping items and bring hopefully some clarification. Ordinance 2024-04, which is a commercial junkyard ordinance, has had a long history, and it's kind of reflected in the way the documents were presented and brought to you all, but just for clarification purposes, after the body of the ordinance, when you get to the exhibit itself, that very first page were the last set of recommendations from the Law Enforcement Public Safety Committee back to the Planning Commission, which then wanted to, drop it, dismiss it, what have you, and then it went back to law enforcement and eventually ended up here. Mr. Collier, I could go into that history a little bit more, but this section was one of the latest, or the latest edition, and fits within obviously the obvious portions. The most material portion perhaps is subsection 755, which is the grandfathering language that's proposed, but none of that has been merged into the ordinance. I think Planning Commission's notion was let's give it to council and let y'all work it out from what they've got. The other matter, 2024-06, just to be clear on this is the City of Seneca's ARPA-related request. It's not a request, I think it's clear from the ordinance, but not a request for any additional funding. It's just an alter or amendment to their scope of work. And that was it.
Thank you, Mr. Root.
Yes, sir.
My county administrator comments, Ms. Amanda Brock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of council. I do not have anything this evening.
Nothing. Thank you, Ms. Brock. Public comment session. I remind everybody that you have 5 minutes. When you get to the 1 minute mark, I hold up a yellow sign for 1 minute warning at 4 minutes. And then when you reach 5 minutes, I hold up the red stop sign.
Mr. Jim Mann.
Council members, I'm Jim Mann, District 2 taxpayer. I offered comments before this council several times in 2023, back between June and October, related to what I viewed as a reckless, fast-track 2024 budget process, one that lacked transparency, was unwarranted, unfair, and included a fiscally irresponsible $25 million bond acquisition. If it was reviewed, I'm not even sure that the whole process was legal, much less ethical. So my position going into 2024 hadn't changed. Here we are on January 16th. The people of Oconee County are not publicly informed about the spending plan for the $25 million bond. That's still pending. the people of Oconee County were not publicly informed on the terms and conditions of the $25 million bond or payback schedule. That's still pending. It's my understanding that some of the $25 million bond loan funds are already being deposited in the bank. If I remember right, I think Mr. Davis on December 5th suggested that a special meeting be held in January to address citizen and council concern and questions related to the $25 million bond and Sewer South. If the county council is not going to hold a special meeting as recommended by the councilman, then when is the spending plan and or budget that shows where this money is being spent going to be made public to the citizens of Oconee County? Thank you.
Mr. Frankie Pearson,
I don't have nothing.
Mr. Tom Markovich,
Good evening, council. For the record, I am Tom Markovich. I wanted to speak about this. I realize it's just first reading about this junkyard ordinance. I have stayed out of this debate on purpose for the entirety of the time they've been discussing it. But there were a few things that caught my attention, one especially, that I think has to get rectified, and this is this idea of a junkyard fence. Now, I realize fences are structures. I get it. I totally understand it. But it seems to me that we're trying to treat a fence differently here than we are in other zoning districts. And just because a fence is going around a junkyard doesn't make it different from a fence that's going around a residence. And so all of a sudden now we've created this new mechanism, whereas we're going to treat it differently. And very specifically, state law says you can't. And it's spelled out in the zoning. You can't treat a specific type of use differently in one zone. I mean, you can do it, you can regulate them differently, but you can't regulate them differently within the same zone, the same district. And so I think this thing, it opens a can of worms. I'm not against regulating junkyards by any means. I have worked my entire life in the most regulated industry that exists. So I'm not against regulation, but I think this particular item and how it ties in opens a huge can of worms, because now you're gonna have to start looking at fences on residences, on farms, on everywhere. So that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Markovich.
Mr. Ron Solinsik,
Good evening, everybody. My comment is also on the junkyard ordinance. The ordinance is going to grandfather in existing junkyards, but in section 32-755A, there's a list of 5 conditions that if they were existed, the exemptions wouldn't apply. And in the backup material, item number 4, if there's a change in ownership, it says the exemption wouldn't apply, but it was highlighted. And then there's a comment that says A3 remove. And it's a little confusing. I don't know what the intent there is, but I hope the intent is that this item 4, if there's a change in ownership, then the exemption would not apply, and the new owner would have to comply with the complete ordinance. So that's my comment. Thank you.
that's all for this evening.
That's all, thank you. Council member comment.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Last year, I introduced some bare bones development standards. One argument against development standards by developers is that development standards raise the price of homes in the development. This argument is incorrect. The market decides the price of a home, not the developer. The developers want Oconee to stay the wild, wild west. We have developers coming into Oconee County from other places, raping our land, destroying the beauty of Oconee and leaving our county with billions of dollars, raping our land. This must stop. I call these outside developers southern carpetbaggers. Southern carpetbaggers. We must have development standards, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Any other comments? Mr. Markovich, Mr. Solinsky, I don't want to mess your name up, I apologize. So we'll have discussion when the item comes up for the junkyard ordinance. Mr. Elliott, it's kind of disappointing to hear you say that home prices is just market driven, that government regulations doesn't have an impact on home prices, because regulation definitely has an impact on home prices. I mean, you just look at the blue states where people can't afford to live, and that's
Can they afford to
government
live here?
policy.
Not anymore.
So you want to make more regulations to drive the price up?
The market decides the price, sir. Thank you. I'm not gonna argue about it.
Okay, $25 million bond. Is any council member up here who voted for the bond? And I know Mr. Davis made the motion initially before I came on council, or came back, and Mr. Elliott, when you was chairman, you was in the initial meeting with Senator Alexander and Ms. Brock and Mr. Mulder. At any time, was it ever discussed that this bond would be $5 million for Sewer South and $21 million for whatever other entities in the county may desire?
Mr. Durham, in September, I asked you, and I asked Ms. Brock, can we inform us and the public of what the $25 million is going for? I've heard all kind of rumors. So has the public. So has Mr. Mann back there, everybody else. Mr. Dow, we don't have a clue. Mr. Davis doesn't have a clue.
Let's think
Somehow or
about
another,
this.
this has gotten out of control, and I don't know what's going on.
So the meeting,
You asked a question.
stand by, I'm gonna speak. The meeting in executive session, when we was with bond counsel, and we discussed the finances and what would be expended, all 5 of us was in there. Mr. Davis, you came up with a $25 million number. What did you base that $25 million
I did come
number
up
on?
with a $25 million.
You did. When we was in
So-
executive session, and we discussed the cost and what number we would go for, you said, let's do $25 million. What did you use to base that number off of?
So let's go with the first question, okay? Let's back down just a little bit off your seat, just a hair, okay? So we're gonna talk about executive session items open here,
Hey,
right?
it's
that's
been
said-
approved,
So hang on.
it's passed.
No, I just want to be clear. So everything that's said in executive session about the sewer, we can bring forward. Are you sure you want that? Because that's council vote. Council needs to decide.
If it's an issue that's been decided, it's affecting the public,
No, I
it
just,
should be public.
we need to take a vote on removing executive session privileges from Sewer South.
I would advise against it very
I would
much.
advise against that as well, especially for some council members up here.
So did you or not suggest a $25 million bond amount?
Do you understand what you're doing?
I'm just asking. You
So
sit here, do you understand what you're doing when you make a motion to bond?
Let me ask you.
No, when you make a motion to bond, and then you suggest the amount to bond, and then after the vote, unanimous vote, you go to the public and you say, I have no idea what this is about.
No, that's not.
If
no,
you're
that's
voting
not
on
how it works.
items that you have amnesia about, you should probably just resign from your seat. Anybody else have a comment?
Mr. Durham, we approved 2 meetings ago a change in the plan for Sewer South. Now we're gonna encourage it to go up Highway 11. That was not in the initial plan, sir. Now we had a forced main, now we don't. That wasn't in the initial plan. These things are changing. Mr. Davis and I been left out.
I disagree.
We've been left out, yes, sir.
John, where did you come up?
Let's have a meeting with the public.
Where did you come up with the statement right now that it's going up Highway 11?
We approved that we would do all we could to go from exit 1 back up Highway 11, 2 meetings ago. Yes, sir, we did.
I don't recall that.
Yes, sir, we did. And Mr. Hart was, he said, we'll have a plan. I know what the plan is. Everybody in here knows what the plan is. Mr. Hart?
The plan that I gave them was a 2-mile radius, and you can attach any type of name you want to it.
And have we approved the 2-mile radius?
No, we haven't.
That was
Sure have.
John, that was a reference document.
But Mr. Davis, he said that it was a official document, because I did it. If that's the case, there's 1,000 official documents, because I did it in the record room. They're called plats or maps.
Did we take a vote last meeting to run sewer up Highway 11?
Why don't we have a meeting with the public? Why don't we have a special meeting and get it all out on the table so everybody knows what's going on? That's what Mr. Davis suggested.
There's nobody opposed to that.
Okay, let's approve it then, right now.
So here's the problem is that, and I'm disappointed you, Mr. I expected it from Mr. Davis. But you have a council member.
We've been left out.
I'm not the one
How
sitting
have
up
you
here
been left
shaking.
out?
I'm not the one up
We-
here shaking.
We've
because
had,
you're trying to-
we've had, every meeting that we've had has been a public meeting or executive session in which all 5 of us are in, except for the ones prior when I wasn't there. It's the dishonesty amongst you two is highly disappointing. Highly. So you're telling the public you
And
voted
that's
for 20?
That's coming from you?
That's exactly right.
Are you sure about that?
$25 million you voted for, and you're gonna tell the public you didn't know what it was for?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
You sat up here last meeting and said, I don't know what it's for.
I make a motion that we call for a special meeting for the public to discuss this and have a plan, and the plan will not change.
I am grateful that this is on video, that people get to see this behavior.
I'm
I'm grateful
Yeah.
for the question,
I'm
and
grateful.
for you to call anybody up here dishonest is mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. And I know that you got your crew, and I know that you got your little Facebook.
You know who
page
my
that you
crew
can
is?
have.
It's the
Hang on,
people of
no,
this
listen,
county.
I have a
And
motion
I'm
on
not
the
gonna
table.
sit here and lie to them like you do and sit here. You made the motion to approve
Lie to
the
them.
bonding.
I have a
I'm not
motion
even
on the
sure you
table
know
right
what
now.
the truth is, Matt.
I know the truth is that you was in every meeting I was with, except for prior when I wasn't on council, and all of a sudden now you say you don't know what the bonding is for.
No, it's not that I don't know what the bonding is for. I don't know where certain parts of the bond are going to be spent. Those are two completely different things, Matt. Two completely different things.
So are you telling people in the public, well, I saw on Facebook that the council originally said that they were gonna give $21 million to the sewer authority and other agencies?
I've got a motion on the table, sir.
You haven't got a second, have you?
No.
I'll second the motion. The motion is to have a public meeting on the sewer, strictly on the sewer,
Correct.
to talk about the plan as we move forward.
Correct.
All right. Do we have a second? All right, what dates do y'all wanna do?
Sooner the better.
Needs to be at night for the public can come. How about next Tuesday, the 23rd,
I'm good.
at 6 p.m.?
That, make sure your work schedule coincides with that.
I'm good with that. Does anybody have any objections to the 23rd? Does that give us time for 4 years?
Yes, sir.
All in favor of the 23rd?
Ms. Calvo?
All right, so any other comment?
I'll refrain from what my comments are, because you don't want to hear that.
Any other comments? All right, hearing none. We have public hearing. for ordinance 2023-21, an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of residential lease agreement between Oconee County as lessor and James Kent Crooks as leasee for certain real property, including all improvements thereon, located at 207 Crooks Road, Seneca, South Carolina, and other matters related thereto.
Make a motion.
Second.
It's a public hearing.
Okay, all right.
No one signed up? I close public hearing ordinance 2023-21. Have third reading of the following ordinance. Ordinance 2023-21, previously read, it should be on your screen here.
Make a motion.
Have a motion, second. Any, discussion? All in favor?
There's 5-0.
All right, second reading of the following ordinance, ordinance 2023-24, an ordinance to rezone parcel 17700-02-184 from control-free district to the Lake Residential District pursuant to Oconee County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 38, Article 8.
Make the motion.
Have a motion, second, all in favor? Aye.
That is 5-0.
All right, have first reading on the following ordinances. Ordinance 2024-04, an ordinance amending Chapter 32 of the Oconee County Code of Ordinances in certain limited regards, in particulars only regarding the establishment of commercial junkyard ordinances to be entitled Commercial Junkyards and other matters related thereto.
I'd like to make a motion to this.
Hang on one second, I think we need a motion and a second to discuss first.
You just make a motion to approve it. Second, you don't have to vote for it, but that at least gets it on the floor.
Second.
All right, motion to move second. Okay?
Concerning this junkyard ordinance, a couple of folks have come up and spoke about it. I know this thing has been in flux for 3 years now, way before my time. I think it's time to put it to rest. I want to make a motion. Well, let me back up. We've got a new planning chairman. And he has reached out to me, and he wants to reach out to each and individual councilman and individually to discuss various things. I want to give him an opportunity as he's gets seated in his new position to look at this, and I want to send this back to the planning commission to give him an opportunity with the new organization to try to iron this out and get us a product that we can bring back before the council and try to get approved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on that motion?
I mean, Mr. Johnson's been on the planning commission the whole time this has been discussed. It goes up and it goes back, and, I mean, like, 3 years.
I know.
I mean, personally, three and a half. I mean, personally, I just think it either needs to die or we need to move on. I mean, that's just my thought.
And I'm with you there. It either moves on or it dies.
I mean, 3.5 years on a junkyard ordinance. I think, like, if I was on the planning commission and got sent back down, I mean, it'd be different if there was different members, but we sent it back down there before because we had 2 new members on there, and now it came back to us. So we're gonna send it back down. This will at least be the 3rd or 4th time that it's been sent back down.
I'd like to send it back just one more time, and this will be the last time. If it comes back and can't be, we don't like what it is, then we're gonna table it and kill it.
Those are 2 different things.
Well, you know what I mean.
I mean, if we don't like something in it and it's been through there, we can change that. It doesn't have to go to the planning.
I know
We can
that.
change it here.
But I want to give the planning commission one last chance to get us a product that can be approved. That's my motion.
Any other discussion on Mr. Miles' motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to send to the planning commission one more time? All in favor? All opposed?
And Mr. Chairman, just to make sure that the record is clear, is to send it to the planning commission, refer to the planning commission to get it in final form, to send it back to y'all.
Whatever comes back, that's correct, Mr. Root.
Thank
And I would like the comments that were brought up tonight referenced in with it as it goes back to planning commission.
Okay. I have ordinance 2024-05, ordinance to appropriate and authorize the expenditure of $56,000 of funding under the Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, ARPA, for the Seneca Library ADA ramp project and other matters related thereto.
Make a motion.
So moved. Second.
Motion, second. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor? All right, next I have ordinance 2024-06, an ordinance to supplement ordinance 2021-20, which appropriated and authorized the expenditure of $3 million of local coronavirus fiscal recovery funding received by Oconee County on the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, ARPA, for purposes of the Seneca Water and Wastewater Infrastructure Project by amending the project scope to include additional water system improvements and other matters related thereto.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion?
Do we not have anybody from the city of Seneca here to tell us what this pertains to and how much they used of that money before?
Send it back now.
Material.
Mr. Hart, I believe it's just an amendment to include the,
Fort Center Ring.
that's correct.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I can address that. Mr. Bob Ferries, Robert W. Ferries, over at Seneca Light and Water, did ask if his participation and attendance was necessary this evening. I indicated to him that I would be happy to answer any of the questions. I felt like the backup material was pretty inclusive. If there are questions you have that I don't know the answer to, I'm happy to get those, bring those back to provide on the record. This is an ordinance amendment and will require 3 readings and a public hearing. And if you would like Mr. Ferries or a representative from Seneca at the next meeting, I'm happy to invite them as well.
Well, I'd like to know, this, double I that they were doing, how much of that they got done. And, you know, because I sat here and listened to him saying where this going and it's down at 123. I'd like to know how much that was completed.
I can get those costs for you. I'm happy to. And if you would like someone from Seneca to attend the next meeting, I'm happy to invite them as well.
I'll go ahead with it as it is.
That was on me, and 100% on me. Bob did ask if he should attend. Enough people working at night is enough people working at night. I didn't realize there would be additional questions. I apologize.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
That is 5-0.
All right, we now have no resolution readings. All right, discussion regarding action items, local aid tax recommendation, Oconee County PRT Commission, $32,800. Local aid tax available balance including encumbrances as of November 6, 2023, $481,547.45. If all grants and projects are approved, new balance will be $448,747.45. Staff's recommendation to approve the ATAX grant recommendations as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? None, all in favor?
That is 5-0.
I have title, let's see here, High Falls Park Rec Building Covered Porch Replacement for the PRT Department. The amount of $63,420 with a 10% contingency of $6,342 for a total of $69,762. Procurement was approved by council in fiscal year 2023-24 budget process. Budget $69,762. Project cost $69,762. Balance is $0. It is staff's recommendation that council approve the award of ITB 23-05 to Palmetto Construction and Services of the Upstate of Williamson, South Carolina, in the amount of $63,420 and a 10% contingency in the amount of $6,342 for a total award of $69,762. Authorize the county administrator to execute documents for this project and sign any change orders within the contingency amount.
So moved.
Motion, second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Vote is 5-0.
I have a Sany SMG 200 C8 motor grader with scar fire for the Department of Roads and Bridges, the amount of $311,330.15. Procurement was approved by council in fiscal year 2023-24 budget process. Budget amount of $311,330.15. Project cost $311,330.15. Balance is $0. It's a staff recommendations that council approve the purchase of a 2023 Sany SMG 200 C8 motor grader from Iron Peddlers Incorporated of Duncan, South Carolina, in the amount of $311,330.15 per Sourcewell contract number 011723 SNY.
Moved.
Motion second, any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Vote is 5-0.
Board and commission appointments. We have one seat open for the planning commission, District 4. We have one questionnaire on file.
Not today.
All right. And we have no executive session items. So I'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion